Hey guys, welcome back to Floki's Models. So I was watching episode 6 of the Book of Boba, and in it you see what one of the Jawa clans has taken the Krayt dragon skull and stuck it on top of one of their Sandcrawlers. I was like, you know what? That'd be a fun quick project to do. So I didn't have an STL file for a Krayt dragon skull, but I do have an STL file for a Krayt dragon. So what I did was print out the top of that head and I'm going to convert it into a skull. I'll leave a link in the description for all the files that I use. Now the first thing I need to do is get rid of all the skin texture from the skull. A few swipes with some different grits of sandpaper really cleaned that up. And now it's looking pretty smooth. To further convert it into looking like a skull, I'm drawing on where I need to take my Dremel and cut away at it some, just opening up the eye sockets and the nose cavities, and then some pieces on the side of the skull that's just sunk in. And I'll do all that with the Dremel. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of that on camera because it is a very messy process and I didn't want to do it in my room. I'm adding the 3 horns to the back of the Krayt dragon skull, which is printed separately. And this is what I ended up with, all the skin texture taken off, and all these cavities opened up to make it look a lot more like a skull. All the parts got primed with Mist Surfacer, and then a black pre-shade of Tamiya XF1. The skull was then painted a 50-50 mix of Tamiya flat white and deck tan. The Sandcrawler got painted in a 50-50 mix of Tamiya flat brown and Hall red. After the paint on the skull had dried, I gave it an overall wash of just black. This is a cheap homemade black wash that I made up using Black Magic Crafts recipe. This wash does a good job getting into all the nooks and crannies. Got myself some oil paints here recently, been wanting to convert over to weathering with them. So I'm going to start by using some light rust here. Put just a drop on a piece of cardboard to try to pull some of the excess oil out of the paint. And then just going to go through and touch all the sides and any place where some rust might accumulate on these. Of course, using reference material as a guide. Now it's time to start on the base. I'm going to be using sculpting mold for this. I mix it with water and some of this Tamiya XF59 Desert Yellow. I think I ended up using 6 syringes full. Not really sure in the end, but just put some in there and mix it up really good. To give it just a little bit more grit, I mix in some of this Woodland Scenic Fine Ballast. Then when I'm happy with it, I'll just take this forbidden peanut butter and smear it all over this piece of 4x4 foam. I let it set up for about 20 minutes, and then I come back in with even more of this Woodland Scenic Fine Ballast. I'll just sprinkle that all over the top of the surface. Yeah, it really looks like sand in the end. Then I'm going to take the tracks of the Sandcrawler and push it into the groundwork. One, to create tracks, from where the Sandcrawler has already been. And 2, I'm going to use the groundwork to lock the Sandcrawler into its final position. Some bad camera work here for me. It's not all that bad, but gluing the Krayt dragon skull to the top of the Sandcrawler here. Then I'm going to use some fine easy line to depict the ropes that the Jawas used to attach the Krayt dragon skull to the top of their Sandcrawler. When this stuff comes in contact with super glue, it almost instantly sets. So just a little drop of super glue on a toothpick and push it into position, and that's usually enough as it takes to get it exactly where you want it. Not sure how many lines I added to it, just enough to make it look busy up there. Then using some MIG pigments, this is, I believe, Gulf War sand. I'm going to use that to dust the tracks on the Sandcrawler. Think it turned out looking pretty good. I'm also going to use this to dust all the lower edges of the Sandcrawler. then add some super glue and connect the top and bottom pieces. I ended up adding even more super glue to this later on when I realized that that wasn't enough to hold it. And now over to the final shots. I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I know as soon as I seen this on screen while watching the Book of Boba that I had to build it. I also got my shipment from Diorama Precipice, so we'll be getting back to the X-Ring build in the next video. I'm gonna start off by making a base for it. So thank you all so much for watching, and if you like this video, then give it a like and a subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you all. As always, stay tuned for many more builds to come.